Alright, so just pick up where you left off yesterday. We're still working on section 7.1, and this should be in your notes from yesterday. The example, we did 3 examples, we had to come up with the integrals, but today what we're going to do is evaluate them. So the integral that we came up with yesterday, and like I said, it should be written in your notes. You probably didn't leave yourself any room to do this part of it, so you want to rewrite it. So we found the integral from -2 to 1 of 2 minus x squared minus x dx.
You forgot your parentheses.
What did you say?
You forgot the other parentheses.
At the beginning.
No, I didn't.
The little string.
Okay. So this is what we found yesterday, and what we're going to do today is evaluate it. So the first thing that you want to do is clean it up as much as you can. So we have 2 functions right here that are being subtracted. So let's do a rewrite here. This is the integral from -2 to 1. We have to subtract these 2. So put the highest power first. What's the highest power?
2.
Yeah, negative x squared. So what's the integral? What we're doing here is finding the integral of negative x squared. There's no like terms that we can add here. So we have a minus x, and we have a positive 2. And what we're going to do is take the integral back. Back to the old-fashioned method. How do you find the integral of that? Add a power, divide by the new power.
Oh.
So this is going to be negative x to a power of 3 divided by 3 minus x squared divided by 2 plus 2x. And then remember how you had to do that little thing at the end? To just note that you have found the integral of it already. That bar at the end means you have already found the integral. If that bar is not there, it means you have not integrated it yet. Now you just need to figure out the value of this function, and that's why I said you might want to have your calculators out. You want to find the value of this function at 1 minus the value of the function at -2. So when you type it all in, and you know what? You might want to do this. You might want to go to y equals, type this in. There's a lot of typing things into y equals. Sometimes it might be easier just to do the mental math. But go to y equals, please. Type this in, negative x to the power of 3 divided by 3 minus x squared divided by 2. No parentheses necessary anywhere when you type this in. Plus 2x. Make a table. Find the value of the function at 1.
What'd you get?
So in other words, we are evaluating that integral at 1. What do you get?
1.16.
1.1666666. Okay. So that's where we're going to run into some problems. So 1.16666 is what as a fraction? So what the problem is this. You don't know what 1.1666666 is as a fraction. This is what I do when I'm not really sure what the fractional value is. I go to a blank screen on my calculator. Do this, please. Go to a blank screen. Type this in. Type in 0.1666666 and type in a whole bunch of 6's. And then do math, enter, enter. Cheat, in other words. 7 over 6.
What?
So
1 over 6.
I got 1.6.
Yeah, 1.
You said 0.1.
oh yeah, you said 7 over 6? Oh, you did 1 point. Okay, yeah, okay. She did okay. She just put the 1 in front. You guys did
0.1.
0.1 with a whole bunch of 6's, correct?
And you get 1 over 6.
You get 1 over 6. She did the whole thing. 1.1666666, which truthfully probably makes more sense. 1.16, keep going. And it changes it back to a fraction for you. So what do you get? What did we say it was? 7 over 6? So the value of this integral at 1 is 7 over 6. And then we have to subtract from it the value of this integral at -2. So go to your table. What is the value of this integral at -2?
-3.3.
10 you get negative 3.3 repeating in your table. So negative 3.3 repeating changed back to a fraction is negative 10/3. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, so we
No, how
have
did you-
7/6 minus a negative 10/3. We are subtracting a negative. When you subtract a negative, you are actually adding. So what you're really doing here is taking 7/6 plus 10/3. What is 7/6 plus 10/3?
Over 2.
You get 9 over 2, I believe, which is of course the same thing as
4.5.
4.5.
Yes.
That is what I had too. I had 4.5. So you know what? I almost feel a little bit guilty even showing you guys all those little calculator cheating steps. So I just wanna, so I feel a little bit better about myself here. What I would like to do is just talk to you about how you can evaluate this without using that cheating method of the calculator. And if you don't wanna use what I'm gonna talk about right now, is I'm just gonna do it algebraically. So you have -1 to the third power over 3 minus 1 squared over 2 plus 2 times 1. That's what you're doing, is you're just replacing all the x's with a 1, getting an answer. You do all the math here, you're going to end up with 7/6. So you evaluate this, and then you subtract from it the value of that same integral at -2. So you have negative. Notice my use of the parentheses, because this says the opposite of x cubed. So your only thing that belongs in parentheses is that -2, but you have to have a negative out front. So it's a negative -2 to the third power over 3 minus -2 to the power of 2 over 2 plus 2 times -2. And then if you evaluate those two things, subtract them, you're going to end up with 4.5. So, all right, I feel better that I told you that now. Okay, second example. This is what we came up with yesterday. We had the integral from 0 to 3 of x plus 1 minus x squared minus 2x plus 1. Finish your bracket, the x. That's what we had in our notes yesterday. Our job now is to actually subtract them, simplify, and then integrate it. So we are taking x plus 1 minus this whole thing right here. So that really means we're taking the integral from 0 to 3 of x plus 1. I rewrote that first function. I'm going to distribute the negative into the parentheses now. When I distribute the negative, I get negative x squared, I get a positive 2x, and I get a minus 1 dx. And now I can collect like terms. So it's the integral from 0 to 3 of what? Negative x squared. So I got rid of that. Now I can add together my 2x and my 1x, giving me 3x.
1 and a 1.
The 1's cancel. You need your dx, and now you integrate it. What's the integral of negative x squared?
Negative x cubed.
Negative x cubed over
3.
3 plus
3x squared divided by 2.
3x squared divided by 2. We are going from 0 to 3. So we need to evaluate each one of these things at 3, and we need to evaluate it at 0. So when I enter and I find the value of this thing at, let's talk about the bottom first. When I plug a 0 in for those x's, what am I going to get?
0.
You're going to get nothing. So the second part of this thing doesn't even need to be done. I'm telling you that now so that hopefully you'll hang in for just a little bit longer. We don't even need to do the second one here, the bottom parameter there, because it's going to get us 0. So on the top, we have negative x cubed. Well, x is 3, so we have negative 3 cubed divided by 3. Well, 3 cubed is 27. We have a negative 27 that has to be divided by 3. What is negative 27 divided by 3? It's going to be a negative 9. So this first part is negative 9, but we have to add on to it 3 times 3 squared divided by 2. Well, 3 squared is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. And we have to divide that by 2. So we have 27 halves. And remember, we are going to subtract from it the value of the integral when you put in zeros. Or remember, remember that was gonna get us 0. So this part right here, we said was negative 9. So we have negative 9 plus 27 over 2. Do the math. Negative 9 plus 27 over 2.
I got 4.5. Yeah, me too.
I got 4.5. That I had gotten 4.5 also. Well, we can check if you want me to double check to see if he's typed it in wrong. Or what did you do? Did you do it? Did you plug everything in, or did you just make a table? You made a table. What did you get for you got 4. Okay, so you have this typed in negative x to the power of 3 divided by 3 plus 3x squared divided by 2. Okay, there we go. All right. So you should have ended up with an answer of 4.5 again.
Mhm.
All right, one more example, you guys. The last example, if you guys recall, though, the last example was quite lengthy. We came up with, we had to find the integral from negative 2 to 0 of 3x cubed minus x squared minus 10x minus negative x squared plus 2x, enter integral dx, plus, and we had another integral that went from 0 to 2, and that was negative x squared plus 2x minus 3x cubed minus x squared minus 10x dx. So we have to evaluate this. We have 2 of them, but I want to show you something that happens. Maybe some of you already know what's going to happen. Let's evaluate the first one, ignore the second one for right now. So we're going to collect like terms. Let's try collecting like terms without distributing the negative in to see if we can come up with the right answer. We only have 1 power of 3, so we know that's how it's going to start out. So we're doing the integral from negative 2 to 0 of 3x cubed. Are you okay with that? Squared. So we have a negative x squared here. And we distribute that negative in, this negative x squared is going to become positive, so our x squareds cancel right out. We have a negative 10x, but when we distribute that negative into the parentheses, the 2x becomes negative 2x, so together they make
Negative 12.
negative 12x dx plus the integral from 0 to 2. Do you guys notice anything about these two integrals? They're just flip-flopped. Exactly. So we're taking, f of x minus g of x here. Here we're taking g of x minus f of x. So what is our integral going to look like?
The same thing.
It's going to be exactly the same thing, except the signs will be exactly the opposite. So in the second integral, don't do it. You know it's not going to be 3x cubed. It's going to be negative 3x cubed. You know it's not going to be negative 12x. It's going to be positive 12x. All right, so now you need to calculate both. Don't think that if you find one, you can just double it to get the other one, because that depends on if you have exactly the same shape in both regions, then you can do that. But if you do not have exactly the same shape in both regions, then you cannot do that. Sometimes on the left side, your left region is considerably larger than the region on the right. So let's integrate this. What is 3x cubed integrating?
3x to the
So we have 3x to the power of 4 divided by 4 minus, can we do that in our head?
6x squared.
Negative 6x squared. So we add a power, divide by the power. So if we add a power and make it a squared and divide by 2, we really have negative 12 divided by 2. Which is a negative 6x. We have a power of 2. What do I do here? From negative 2 to 0 plus, here we integrate this, we get negative, I'm gonna put this in parentheses here. We have a negative 3x to the power of 4 over 4. What's gonna happen with our 12x? 12x squared, we're gonna have a, well, 6x squared. From 0. Now, I will stop right now if you want me to, or I can keep going. What do you guys want me to do? Okay, we need to evaluate this function, this first integral, we need to evaluate it at 0, and we need to evaluate it at -2. We need to subtract them, so let's just do one at a time. So this one right here, I have to flip screens, so I'm going to need you guys to help me transfer this integral to the next page. So we have 3x to the 4th, was it minus 6x squared?
Yeah.
And we're going from -2 to 0. So when I plug in a 0 into this
Don't you have to
integral,
divide it by 4?
over 4. Okay, yes, thank you. Okay, when I put a 0 in, what do I get?
0.
You get 0. So that was easy. So we're gonna have this first integral anyway is going to be 0 minus, but now we need to evaluate this function when you replace x with a -2. So I see some of you going to y equals, typing it all in, which is fantastic. I'm so happy to see that. It's saving
12.
me some work too. Did you guys end up with 12?
Negative 12,
A
actually.
-12. It's Cream's answer, so make sure you double check. -12. So we have 0 minus a -12. What does that mean the area of this is?
Negative.
Okay. So we're actually adding, we get 12 as our first area, but now we need to find the area of the second region, which means that we need to evaluate the integral at this integral right here, the second integral from 0 to 2. So I'm going to need some, actually, I think I can handle it transferring it to this page. So we have a negative 3x to the 4th over 4 plus 6x squared, and you are going from 0 to 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so plug a 2 in. We plug a 2 in. Let's see, we have 2 to the 4th power is 16 times -3 is -48 divided by 4 is -12. Am I right? No, I'm not because I didn't do the rest of it. -12 plus 24 to get 12?
Yeah.
You get 12. When you put a 2 into this integral, you get 12. Yes? So you end up with 12. But now what we need to do is subtract from it what happens when you put a 0 in. You get 0. So you're going to have 12 minus 0, which gives you 12. What do I do to these two answers?
Add in.
So the total area is 24. Now in this case, I can't even remember what the curve looked like, but whatever you had in your first region, it looks like it matched what you had in your other region. That does not always happen, so do not get in the habit of calculating one and not the other and thinking that you're just going to have double the first answer. Okay? Okay.